you doing, sweethearts? Sweethearts, let's talk about guilt. Is that music too loud in the background? I have solfeggio music playing. I'll turn it down. Let's talk about guilt. There is a lot of you feeling guilty for guilt is coming up in a lot of things. Let's say that. It's really necessary, sweethearts, to forgive the guilt. Hi, Sabrina. How you doing, beautiful? The guilt of eating meat. The guilt of not being good enough. The guilt of not doing enough. The guilt of what was I thinking? The guilt of not being able to prevent the consequences and miscreations of what you seemingly label as mistakes. How you doing, Emma, Cheryl? Big hugs and blessings, sweethearts. It's necessary to allow yourself to forgive not only those who make you feel guilty for the choices you make, but to allow yourself to forgive every aspect of everything that's coming up. How you doing, Jeff? Phaedra, Fawn, big hugs and blessings, sweethearts. It's necessary to forgive those that hurt you, those that did you wrong. It's necessary to forgive yourself for the guilt you feel for doing wrong to others. You have to forgive yourself on both sides of the polarity, if you will. When you're dealing with guilt, sweethearts, you have the guilt that you have been made to feel. And you have the guilt within yourself for either not doing what you wanted to do or for taking that step and failing at what you wanted to do, which proved everybody else right that you were a failure. Because in all truth and honesty, there is no mistakes. You do not fail at anything. And there is an underlying guilt with anything and everything that has to be forgiven. How you doing, Rhonda? How you doing, Alice? Big hugs and blessings, sweet ones. Not only do you as an individual have to forgive those in your experiences of the past, and you have to forgive yourself, but there's also the guilt that has to do within each of you that deals with the betrayal and the guilt of that betrayal between your masculine and your feminine essences within yourself. And even though at times we don't necessarily see that it's guilt, if you will, or see, if you will, that you have guilt for something, a lot of the sadness and the sorrow that's coming up right now has to do with that underlying guilt. And it all ties back to worthiness and abandonment and rejection. You have to allow yourself to forgive in every aspect. But you really have to forgive yourself for the guilt that you feel. And again, that guilt is you failed in your marriages. Humanity has been enslaved to death do us part. And that's just an example. And you have to forgive yourself for those relationships, for those marriages, for those endeavors that you have convinced in your mind that are failures. And when you can come and keep in the forefront, if you will, that everything is energy, and that energy, it constantly changes. It will help you in a more graceful and gentle and easy manner to allow yourselves to let go of the guilt and to forgive the guilt. Sweet ones, it's really helpful to understand, especially when it comes to guilt of eating meat or being judged for eating meat. It's really helpful to understand that when you bless the animal, you thank it for its sacrifice. Because yes, it did sacrifice. When you thank it for that sacrifice and stay in that space of gratitude, there is no purpose to feel guilty over that. When you can allow yourself to observe where the mind programming has convinced us that we have to feel guilty for walking away from that relationship or that marriage. When you can allow yourself to forgive the guilt that you feel because you did what you felt was necessary, and maybe you have children and you feel guilty that you have, you feel guilty that you walked away, if you will, rather than staying and trying to make it work for the children. Allow yourself to forgive that guilt, sweet ones. Because guilt is a burden that you don't need to carry anymore. It's okay that you have made miscreations. It's okay that you have made mistakes. It is okay that you have made wrong choices. And it is only the act of unforgiveness that keeps that guilt held within you. It matters not what our families or anybody else say, but yet they can convince us that we are guilty of unfathomable things based on beliefs and truths. Now, society, your societies, your religions, your cultures, the individual beliefs, the educators, in every aspect, sweet ones, we have been enslaved to feel guilty for our choices. We have been enslaved to feel guilty for pursuing our heart's desires. And any time that we have made the choice to follow our hearts and it didn't pan out or turn out the way we wanted it to, our societies, our religions, our cultures, our families, our educators, everything has put us into a position, a mentality, a frequency of being a failure, making us feel guilty by "I told you so." And it is those underlying hidden energies that are coming up that are really asking us to forgive it. There is no reason we need to feel guilty for anything, especially the choices that we have made, regardless if they have led us into a space of miscreation or whether they have led us into a space of having a dream fulfilled in that space of time. Because then, even when you succeed, there is guilt applied. Because the outside world is envious, has been taught to be envious. And there is the guilt on that flip side of the coin as well. And so really allow yourselves, when these things are presented, when these emotions come up, when sadness or sorrow or anger comes up, observe on whether it's not as if it's tied into guilt, sweet ones, whether that guilt is the guilt that you have been made to feel, or whether that's the guilt that you feel because of outside influences, that it was wrong, or you have failed, or anything along those lines. Let me catch up here. How you doing, Marlene, Alice, Carol? Let me back up here a minute. Stacy, big hugs and blessings, sweet ones. Absolutely, Stacy. Forgive ourselves because we have all done this to each other and ourselves by choice. Not only forgive each other, but again, forgive the underlying. How you doing, Betty? Big hugs and blessings. Or Maureen, you're under Betty. So really allow yourselves to forgive that guilt, honey. We have to take each experience or episode as a learning experience. Remember the lesson, move on and move forward. Those who judge do not matter. Those who matter do not judge. And if it matters, it doesn't matter. That's really what it comes down to, sweet ones. If it matters to you, there is an emotional attachment. An emotional conditional attachment. So if it matters in the material world, if you will, then it don't matter. And that's where, again, we have to observe what truly matters, because if it's a material aspect, it don't matter. You came into this world naked, you will leave this world naked, sweet ones. It is the pleasures, if you will. But when you can become emotionally attached to something in the physical world, that's where you set yourself up for miscreation, if you will. It's not saying that you cannot have and enjoy the fruits of your labors and have material things. That's not the message we're trying to convey here. The message we're trying to convey is, as long as there's an emotional attachment, because everything is energy, even if it's tangible, and as long as there is an emotional attachment to that thing, you're worshiping something outside of you rather than worshiping the spirit within you. And worshiping probably isn't, well, for the physical part of it, it's the right word, but you want to worship something, worship self. Let's just put that. Tears in me to let go. It hit me for 10 minutes ago. Bless you. Oh, Alice, big hugs and blessings. I love you, sweet ones. So, really, how you doing, Courtney? How you doing, Lisa? So, really allow, on another aspect, another observation of the aspect of guilt. Allow yourself to let go of the guilt for awakening, sweet ones. Allow yourselves to let go of the guilt for choosing to ascend. That's a big one for many of you. Allow yourselves to forgive yourselves for making the choices to walk away, to stand in your power. Because a lot of you are dealing with a lot of earth family right now, and that is coming to the forefront. And a lot of you are dealing with them trying to, if you will, push your boundaries. And forgive them, sweet ones. Allow you to forgive the guilt that they're trying to put on you. You don't have to react to it. See it for what it is and know it for what it can be. In every given moment, sweet ones, love is. However it is presented. In whatever frequency it is presented. In whatever timeline it is presented. In every given breath. In every given moment, love is. And when you can find that peace in every given moment, when you can stand in the truth of who you are, regardless of what is going on, regardless if somebody is trying to instill guilt with your families, and allow them to be who they are. And forgive them for trying to make you feel guilty. And forgive yourself for feeling guilty for standing in your truth. Forgive yourself for standing in your power. Not only with your parents, but with anybody else. This is an incredible moment. Don't allow these things that are coming up to throw you off kilter. Again, see it for what it is, sweet ones, and know it for what it can be. Because in every given moment, love is presented regardless of how it is presented. But in that moment, in that breath when it's presented, sweet ones, you can see it. It is what it is, what it is. But you can also view it and know it for what it can be changed into. You have the power to transform it from what it is in that given moment to what it can be. And that is the magic of you. And that's the magic that is being activated, that you are evolving into. That is the truth of all that you are. And that's the magic of that truth. Because you are transformers. Whether you are knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously aware of it. Your spirit, you are being guided by your cosmic heart right now. And your spirit, in every given moment, is showing you that you can change it from what it is in that given breath to what it can be and what you know it is in all truth. And if you can keep that, sweethearts, in the forefront of your thoughts and not let those other mind thoughts, when they pop in, saying, no, this is what's presented, but this is what it can be, and this is what it truly is. And transform that energy right then and there. Because in every given moment, it is new, sweet ones. In every given breath, you are brand new. Even if the outside physical world does not change in your perception, physically, tangibly, in every given breath, it is still new in every given moment. And when you can embrace that newness in every given breath and in every given moment, you have the power to transform anything from what it is to what it can be and what you know it to be for sure true. And that is love. But you have to be willing to allow yourselves to let go of the guilt for standing in that truth, for standing in that power, standing in your knowing, and standing in your peace while you're doing it. Because love is. And you're coming into a space where you're coming into a frequency, you're coming into a dimension where everything that you see, love, it is for what it is. You're coming into a space where it's going to be everything that you know that it can be. You just have to let go of the other stuff. You have to let go of what it is. It is what it is right now in this moment. And focus in every given breath on what you know it can be. And transform it into that. And that's the space we're going into. It's no longer going to be what it's always been. It's going to be what it can be and what we know it to be in all truth. And that's the beauty of us, and that's the power of us. So allow yourselves to forgive. Allow yourselves to let go of the guilt. And know, sweet ones, there is no mistakes. There is only love. And every seemingly mistake or wrong choice or bad choice or whatever's been instilled, whatever belief that is attached to those things, no, there are no mistakes. And if there are no mistakes, if there are no wrong decisions, if there are no wrong choices, because all has been for the highest good of yourself, for your soul's evolution, then why carry around guilt of any kind? So allow yourselves to go into that space of knowing. There's no purpose for guilt because there's been no wrong choices. There's been no wrong path. It has all been for the highest evolution of your soul. And it was all to bring you to the glory of this moment now. So allow yourselves to bathe in the glory. Allow the past to go and stop living in the future, because Tomorrowland never comes. There's only right now. Love is life. And life is love. And if you spend too much time in the past and you spend too much time in the future, you're wasting your life away. Because life only happens in the moment. And in that moment, it just is. It is the glory and the magic and the holiness of love. So get lost in the moment rather than the past. Get lost in the moment rather than in the guilt. Get lost in the moment rather than in Tomorrowland. And feel the love and the magic of the moment. Because in this moment is where paradise exists and heaven is created. I love you, sweet ones. Have a great, great afternoon. Big, big, big hugs and blessings. Bye-bye now.